Perry on your radio with Raw. Good evening and welcome. It's a brand new month. It's the second day of July 2025. You're tuned in to Strong and Sassy on Joy 99.7 FM. I like to believe you had a productive day. That's awesome to know. My name is aKorfa and I'm sitting in for Enimwe Nimado. And for the next 60 minutes, you have me for company. Shows produced by Mirabel Johnson and Anita Tay. Oliver Fanyo is making us visible on social media. We're streaming on our social media as well, X, Facebook, and YouTube. It's an interactive show, so please reach out to us via WhatsApp 055 1111 997. As the conversation progresses as well, our phone lines will be activated. Today, our conversation centers around putting the spotlight on young and bold individuals breaking barriers. Now, the third edition of the Joy News Impact Makers Awards was held on Saturday, that's June 28, at the Ecobank head office. Now, the awards celebrated 10 extraordinary Ghanaians who are making profound differences in their communities. The event's aim is to identify and honor individuals whose impactful efforts often go unseen, demonstrating that local actions can shape national progress. Now, the awards celebrated individuals transforming communities through health, education, science, social justice, and water, sanitation, and hygiene initiatives. And today on Strong and Sassy, our spotlight is on Akua Sarpong. She oversees Lifeline for Childhood Cancer Ghana, LCCG, which supports over 2,000 families in diagnostics, treatment, and psychosocial care. And on the show today, we'll get to know Akua more, delve into her day-to-day of overseeing LCCG, and also joining Akua is Dr. Yaa Offei Darko, who's a medical officer, pediatric oncology at the Kolibu Teaching Hospital. Ladies, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us in studio today. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. And you?
I'm okay as well. Okay, why are you smiling? Like that? Your smile is very wide. I hope you're doing okay.
I am. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much too for joining in. Now, we want to start off first by knowing who Akua Sarpong is, because we've brought Dr. Yaa also joining, and then share some info on cancer as well as the conversation progresses. Now, first off, Akua Sarpong, tell us how this initiative came about, LCCG, first off, before we go any further.
So maybe just a bit more. I'll go before LCCG.
Absolutely.
Yes. So in 2016, I don't even think I knew children had cancer. It wasn't really part of my vocabulary. And my daughter, the older of set of twins I had, started exhibiting just normal childhood illness, nothing out of the ordinary. She wasn't eating, bit of fever, tiredness, nothing really. I mean, I had an older child, so I kind of knew what children getting sick was pretty normal. So I went to the hospital, and then they said, she might be teething, because she was 1 year, about 1 year and 4 months. Said, she might be teething. That's fine. It made sense to me at the time. And so went back home. And after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then I felt her stomach was a little more tender than usual to the touch. So I remember going back to the hospital. They were like, it could be constipation, probably gas. So I kind of believed it as well. And went back home. But it just didn't feel right. There was something very off about it. So kind of pushed, and then they requested we got to do an ultrasound scan. And then we found a tumor in her stomach, which was 1 year, 3 months. So it was a big tumor, about 15 centimeters.
Wow.
And so she was diagnosed with a rhabdomyosarcoma. So that's kind of aggressive rare form of cancer of the soft tissues.
Okay.
So that's how come I even, pretty distressing not knowing about cancer. It's not really part of your vocabulary, and then suddenly your daughter is diagnosed. So we started our treatment at Kolebu pretty early on, because as soon as you find out, you're
Yeah.
getting into action, which we did. And so we started the treatment. It got quite heavy, quite scary, in fact. And so we flew out to South Africa at the time. We continued the treatment there. And, the tumor had really grown. The stomach was so big, so we had to have about 4 to 15 cycles, I can't even remember, of chemotherapy.
Wow.
She was by then 1 year, 5 months,
That's
I remember.
impressive.
And, yeah, so the tumor shrunk because you kind of need the chemotherapy to shrink it. Because it's so big, they couldn't even quite tell what organs it was growing out of.
Okay.
So it needed to shrink. And thankfully it did. So I think this was in June 2016, if I remember. Yeah, and then we did the surgery around September in 2016, and surgery was awesome. It was successful. It was localized. The margins were clear. There was no sign of cancer. So we came back home, and then we carried on. So went into remission. So we were on what we call maintenance. So you kind of have small doses of chemotherapy, and yeah. So we carried on. We did our reviews. We never missed the treatment. We never missed the review. Everything was fantastic. We went back to living. She went back to school, and about 7, 8 months later, cancer came back again.
Oh my goodness.
And it came back. By the time we saw it, it had gone into her lungs and into her bones. So yeah. So we kind of, we'll fight it again. We've done it for the first time. It works. We'll do it again. So we went back again to South Africa, and then so her body was just too brutalized
To go through the process.
to go through the process. So to kind of give you the decision. You have to make a decision to carry on, not to carry on. I mean, if you want to carry on, they'll do it. But whose interest really? Is it for us, or is it for the child's interest? So we came back. And it was by then, I think 2017, yes. So, kind of asked how long do we have? And we said, I think it was maybe November. So he said, with some luck, you'd go through your Christmas. So, and she lasted, she pushed forth. And we got another, maybe 7 months after that, and she passed away. So that's how come I, got into this whole space of childhood cancer. And at the time, so the pediatric oncology, my boss, my dear, dear, dear mom boss, Professor Lorna Reina, head of the pediatric oncology, kind of wanted an avenue to raise funding to treat children because it wasn't covered under national health insurance, out of pocket of families. I mean, it was just terrible. Survival is low. We're losing children like no man's business. And because Kolebu being Kolebu, the unit kind of needed to be creative to set up a foundation that can channel donations and treatment funds. So, and, having understood the journey, I got to join it, and pretty much I ran with it.
Well, before you go any further though, so this is you who's grieving the loss of your child, and in that process, what would you say is that thing that kept you going to even want to then be motivated enough to start LCCG in the first place?
I really needed somewhere to
channel
really, you just do, because you're confused, you're lost, and it was a 2-year journey, so it's quite intense, and you come out of it and you pretty much are not sure where to start. You've got to start somewhere, because by then you'd have probably lost your job. You're reconnecting with your children because you kind of left them to raise themselves. And so this for me was, I was very thankful for the opportunity to do something with my energies, and that's how come.
Okay.
Yes, I got involved.
Well, let me come to you, Dr. Darko. So she talked about a type of cancer that her daughter had. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Can you give us a little education on that?
So, rhabdomyosarcoma is one of the rare types of childhood cancers. Is a, like she said, is a soft tissue sarcoma. So, as we all know, cancer. When you say someone has cancer, it just means that the cells in your body are multiplying and at abnormal rate. So yes, your body has cells which multiply to replace what is lost when you are ahead other options. In this case, your body cells are multiplying to the extent that it can't keep up with what your body needs. So there's something wrong in your DNA in the cells that is letting them grow abnormally and they can't stop. So they end up becoming a cancer. And then we have different types of cancer. So what Akua's daughter had is one type of cancer. But there are other types. There's the blood cancers like ALL, AML, like acute. So ALL is acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and then AML is acute myeloid leukemia. And then there are other cancers. We have the Wilms tumor. That's a tumor that affects the kidney. We also have the retinoblastomas, the cancers that affect the eye, as well as other cancers. Yes.
Okay. Well, when families come to your department, for instance, like I don't know, when they come to see you, and because they've gone through maybe some processes, they've gone through scans or something to notice that this is what they are battling with, and they come to see you in your department, how is usually the conversation like?
So usually when they come, it's difficult to accept that this is what it is when it comes to my child. It's like no one wants to hear that their child has a cancer. No one wants to hear that, oh, this is what they are saying about my child. They wish it was something else, or they wish it was a mistake or a wrong diagnosis. So it's difficult to come to terms with the fact that, oh, they're saying your child has a cancer. Most of the times when they come, they are devastated, they are anxious. A lot of them they don't know how the journey is going to be for them, because some of them have heard of cancer, but not in children. They'll tell you that, oh, we've heard about breast cancer or cervical cancer because there's publicity about it. But like when you say, oh, children to get cancer, then they look at you like,
yeah, it's a foreign concept.
It's a foreign concept to them. So it's very difficult for them to accept it. And few accept it completely. Some, even though we start the treatment for their child, they are still in that phase of, why is it me? Denial, yeah.
Now, how do oncologists determine, the best course of treatment for a particular patient?
So when the child comes and we see the initial labs and scans, we may probe further by requesting other labs and scans that would help us diagnose. And then we have protocols in place for each cancers. So the protocol I'll use to treat, for instance, a blood cancer is not the same protocol I'll use to treat a solid cancer like a rhabdo or a Wilms tumor. So different protocols for different cancers. Also, depending on the time they come and the prognosis, that is what will help us determine which course of action to take for the child to get the best possible outcome for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let me come back to you. So when you thought of, overseeing LCCG, challenges. Yeah, you're smiling. Yeah. What were some of the challenges you faced when you started this?
And the challenges we still face anyway. So
Okay.
it doesn't quite change. But it was, it was a new foundation. main challenges are people don't just trust NGOs. So and thankfully, because we are the fundraising foundation partner for the pediatric oncology, and we're a patient organization, we are really pediatric oncology. So we have Kolebu backing us. So that helped a lot. One of our big challenges we still face is funding, because nobody wants to fund. I mean, bigger thing is the lack of awareness of childhood cancer. I mean, to date, I could easily be speaking to 10 grown, educated people, and you start talking about cancer, and the first question is, hey, into colenia cancer. And even to get past in colenia cancer to the shock to telling them about the early warning signs to getting them to now commit to the mission, that's a long process in itself. So funding is key, And also, unfortunately, because people have such bad noises about childhood cancer in their heads, people don't feel confident enough to support, because we always get these cases of, we supported this child, the child didn't make it, and in any case, saying it doesn't help with our mission and our quest to raise funding to support our children. To date, it's still, the stigmatization involved is real. We have families, and Dr. Yaa can tell you, we have families who come and they will carry their child and go back home because they don't want their communities to know that the child has cancer. I know so many mothers who've come and they've said, they say it's the witchcraft from my family that has affected the child. We have husbands who tell the mother in the hospital with the child that, if you stay, I'm divorcing you. I'm not, this marriage is over because I really don't want to be associated with you. So there's so many challenges on the religious side, the traditional beliefs, funding, like I said, the awareness, the lack of awareness, it really makes the work difficult. But, we push. We always push.
Right. Well, Dr. Darko, let me find out from you. So, people do hear cancer all the time, and then they would want to know. So, if I come to you and I'm like, what causes cancer? What answer am I looking at?
So, if you ask what causes cancer, especially in children, the answer I would give you is, we don't even know ourselves.
Oh my goodness.
That's it. We don't even know how it comes about.
That's very wild.
But we know that there are certain predisposing factors that can lead a child to getting cancers. For instance, if the child is exposed to certain carcinogens like radiation, certain chemicals or metals, heavy metals, certain diets. If the mother, when she was pregnant with the child, wasn't careful about her diet and smoking or drinking, or she was exposed to certain harmful substances, then would say that the child may likely get a cancer. In some cases too, if the family has a history of cancer, like you have a relative who has cancer, the probability that the child may develop cancer is very high as well. So
Well, what early warning signs, should parents not ignore when it comes to their children's health? Because, Akua mentioned that, when she went to the hospital a couple of times, they mentioned teething, and she believed that it could be that because she's had other children, other kids, and so all of that, because kids are kids, so they'll pick up a thing or two from it, and so you wouldn't really want to make it such a big deal until you realize that, should I have paid attention when he said my tooth was hurting? All of that. Walk us through that.
So what I'll say first is, you as a parent, you are your child's greatest advocate, because children are helpless, and when they are in pain or they are suffering, person they can go to ask for help is you, the parent. So when your child comes to you saying, I have a tummy ache, or I have a headache, or I feel pain somewhere, as much as possible, yes, it's easy to disregard it and say, oh, it's one of these things, so let's try and manage it at home or something. Let's give them some pain medication, see how it goes. And it may not help the child in the long run. When the child comes to you with a complaint, the first thing you should do is to take the child to the hospital. Do not self-medicate at home. Very, very important, because you do not know what you're dealing with. A child will come and say, okay, mommy, I'm having a fever, the temperature spikes. You're giving paracetamol over and over again. The temperature is not going down. It's getting worse. Bring your child to the hospital. Or child says, mommy, my tummy is hurting me. I feel something hard in my tummy. Don't think it's one of these things like, oh, the child likes sweets too much, so it's one of those things. It may be leading you to something more serious. Bring the child to the hospital. Or you notice that your child has started walking funny. Initially, your child used to walk like straight, but now it's like he has an unsteady gait. Bring the child to the hospital. Anything out of the norm that you notice in your child, just bring your child to the hospital. It is better to have a clear mind and a clear conscience that my child is fine than to sit at home and manage or try and firefight till it becomes worse. You bring the child to a hospital and they now tell you, oh, your child actually has cancer, and then now it's a whole long journey battle with treatment and everything, and you don't know the prognosis. Cancers, especially childhood cancers, when detected early, your prognosis is good. When you're started on treatment early, you will be cured quicker. Prognosis is good, and you can live a long, healthy life. But when you don't come early and we don't pick it up early, then it's an uphill climb on how we are going to save you, because now it's a race against time. Yes.
Right. So, Akua mentioned that, they did a lot of hospital rounds.
Yes.
Finances for a lot of parents would want to say that, well, I did notice so in my child, and at the end of it all, I was hoping it would get better, because even when I take the child to the hospital, can I afford it?
Right.
How are we doing when it comes to the cost of treating cancer?
Cancer is an expensive disease.
Oh, jeez.
It's an expensive disease. I wish and I hope that all cancers be covered by the National Health Insurance Scheme, so that parents don't have to rack their brains as to whether to send their child to the hospital when they are sick, or whether to keep them at home and try home remedies to see if the child improves.
Okay.
Unfortunately, with our current socioeconomic status, a lot of people can't afford the treatment. That's why NGOs like LCC and Akua come in. They help bridge the gap between the patient and the care that they desperately need. It's because of Akua that a lot of children have been able to get the much needed treatment that they need, such that they are on their road to recovery. It hasn't been easy. There are parents who come and we can't save all of them because we don't have the finances to do that. The labs that we need to do, it costs money. The scans that we need to do, it costs money. The chemotherapy drugs that we need, it costs money. And that's aside the fact that a lot of them will need blood transfusions, because cancer, you will always be anemic. We'll need money for that. The fluids that will give them, the antibiotics that would buy, because their immune system is compromised. We need the strongest kind of antibiotics to help their systems fight while killing the cancer. It also costs money. So a lot of them, once you put it in front of them that this is your journey, quite a number of them decide that I'm not coming again because I can't do it. You've had parents saying that I've had to sell my property. My landlord is sacking me from their house. I don't know who to ask. I'm calling people and now they're not picking my calls because they are tired of hearing me beg for money over and over again. So they'll rather watch their child die, painful as it seems, rather than go into financial debt, because sometimes they have other children
They have
to take care of. But imagine you as a parent watching your child die, and it's like your hands are tied. It's painful.
Well, if you're just joining us, you're tuned into Strong and Sassy right here on Joy 99.7 FM. It's 7:32. You can also share your thoughts with us on this conversation. We're speaking to Akua Sarpong. She happens to be impact maker for health at this year's Joy News Impact Makers Awards. WhatsApp is 055 11 997. We also have Dr. Yaa Offei Darko, who's also joining us in studio. Now, Akua, I want to come to you and find out. You've been working with the children and also their parents. How is the relationship usually like?
Oh, we have a fantastic, absolutely fantastic relationship. So what we do is, actually, we're a fundraising organization.
Yeah.
So we raise money from corporate Ghana, international NGOs, local NGOs, churches, individuals, and we support the treatment and care of children with cancer, hopefully for a cure. Ultimately, that's our aim.
Yeah.
So with the funds that we raise, we work within the hospital, of course, and we support, payments for chemotherapy. So, a patient will come to Dr. Yaa, they don't have what it takes for the chemotherapy, we step in. We pay for the diagnostics. Whether it's CT scans, MRI, whatever is required, blood. We support the nutrition of the children.
Okay.
Because they come, some of them come very sick. And, because the chemo is quite harsh, you need to plumb them up again. So we support the feeding. The former First Lady was so gracious enough, bless her heart, built a beautiful hostel for us. So we support the feeding of the families in there. Of course, cancer treatments can last up to 3 years sometimes.
Yeah.
Children are able to go to school. So, have children who would have missed 2 years
Right.
of school because
Yeah.
they get easily infections very quickly.
Yeah.
And infections are really our devil that we deal with. You don't want to mess with any infections with a child with cancer. So we work like a hospital school. So we support the children with literacy, numeracy, learning through play, crafts. We have an art therapy class on Thursday, which is fantastic. What else do we do? I mean, if you've been running this for 2-3 years, clearly mothers don't have jobs after that.
Yeah.
Halfway through, nobody wants to employ someone who's always in hospitals. So we have a skills development, employable skills development for our moms.
Okay.
And we did the beads training, beads jewelry, and I made the beads jewelry, everything with beads, bags, necklaces, Alice bands, key rings, and these are small skills that the mothers are able to do even while they're sitting next to their children in the hospital.
Okay.
And they make money. I mean, our mothers were making some pretty decent money
Really?
selling among themselves. Last year we started a baking school.
Okay.
Every quarter we take 10 women through 3 months of intensive masterclass in baking. So they're learning how to everything, cakes, chips, achomo, plantain chips, the whole works. So the idea is, it needs small startup capital, so we set them up. So when they go home, they can run, a meaningful business, make money for themselves, and support their families.
Right.
We do a lot of awareness creation.
Okay.
It's so important that we educate people on the early warning signs and symptoms of childhood cancer. Because like Doc said, so little is known, and it's very important for us to understand the early warning signs, because when we catch it early, there's a better chance, better outcome for the child. So we work with corporate, individual schools, churches, and we have these amazing school programs where we teach the children and they get it. So, they're able to tell them, Mom, I've heard something. They came to tell us in school.
Yeah.
My stomach has been bugging me for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's go check it
And
out.
it's been
Yes.
amazing. And these kids are even raising funds to support the kids with cancer. It's
Yes.
awesome.
That's beautiful.
What else do we do? God, what else don't we do?
Yeah.
That's a good question. What else don't we do? What else?
We are.
I
Social
was
support for
asking a
families.
question about the families bit because
Yeah.
Yes.
Doc mentioned
So-
earlier that sometimes some of the families find it a bit hard to come into terms with the diagnosis and all
Yes.
of that. So
Yes.
I wanted to know, like, has there ever been an instance where after the doctors have spoken to this parent,
Yes.
do you who deal with them directly as well, have you had the opportunity to say sit them down and walk them through
All
so they
the
can
time.
all the time
All the
Okay.
time. We have to, because the mothers comes confused. They come very confused, not understanding it. Some of them are semi-literate, illiterate, even understanding what drugs they're taking, what is going on, what it means, the journey, what it requires. It's part of the psychosocial support that we give.
Okay.
We work with priests. We work with psychologists
Yeah.
to speak to these mothers. We even have navigators, and these navigators are people who've had lived experiences.
Okay.
So, it's mothers who have been through the journey, their children are well. We've had survivors who also work within the hospital to help the mothers go through this path. Kolibu can be very, very complex. So you've come, you've settled in.
It is
Where's the
hospital.
central lab to go? Where do I do my scans? There's some parents who have never been to Accra.
True.
And they're completely lost. So, we have to hold their hand through when they get their diagnosis to even when it's palliative care.
Yeah.
We hold their hands, and we have such amazing relationship with their children because we're really with them. We work
Yeah.
with them, mothers, children. We work with the siblings
Yeah.
because the whole family units that get
yeah.
affected, and it's fun out there in our
In your own way.
in our little world.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to ask both of you this question though. What kind of, you have mentioned a lot of things, but what kind of support do families in Ghana need most when facing a childhood cancer diagnosis, and how can the public help? Because just as you mentioned, the awareness creation too is on the low,
Yeah.
and so what can we do about that, and how can we be of help? When the opportunity presents itself.
So, aKorfa, like you're doing right now, you're helping us create awareness with your platform. They need the support of their family.
Yes.
Cancer is not a communicable disease. You can't spread it from one person to the other. Okay. Once we understand that, we realize that there's no need to shy away from the person. Cancer is a disease like others, and that this is more complicated on a more complex level. But once detected early and treatment started, the chances of a cure is higher. We need the communities to come together and not stigmatize the child and the families of the child that has the diagnosis. We need to create an awareness on social media, on the TV, public platforms, wherever, whenever. More campaigns. In the same way we put an effort in talking about breast cancer, cervical cancer, I believe that if we do the same for childhood cancers, it will make our work easier as doctors, because it will mean that people will start noticing the signs early, and then they will say, oh, Mansa, my neighbor, this thing, we heard about it on the radio, we heard about it on aKorfa show. I think you should send the child to the hospital. Don't do the herbs. Don't do self-medication. Send the child to the hospital. They'll need financial support. If family members can come together to help raise funds for the treatment of the child, it will really go a long way. We also have NGOs like Akua's NGO that when families have reached their limit when it comes to like finances and treatment, then they step in and then support till we are done with the treatment.
Okay.
But these are some of the few things that I can say.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you can add on to that one as well.
Really, I think the stigmatization is real. Especially for children who've gone through, they've gone back to school, they're reintegrating.
Right.
There I've children who struggle to go back to school because when I cancer, no, nobody wants to sit with them, and cancer, no, I'm not born. And so I think families need to be a bit more supportive, communities need to be a bit more supportive. It's a non-communicable disease. It's curable.
Yeah.
There's life. There's so much life after cancer.
After it.
I mean, if a child has cancer at 3 and by 5 they're done, they have another 70, 80 years of their lives to live.
True.
So no need to, follow them with the stigma attached to it. But also people need to be a bit kinder and support the financing aspect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, our national health insurance, we all know the challenges we battle with. It's not supporting us enough. So far, we only have the 4 cancers on it: retinoblastoma, Wilms tumor, leukemia, and Beckett's lymphoma. That's all that's on. There's so many more cancers, but even the 4 cancers, So we need organizations to support our work.
Yeah.
You have CSR budgets. Think about it. We need churches,
Yeah.
to support our work. We need individuals to support our work. Child cancer is a lot closer than we think.
Yeah.
Sometimes we like to pretend it's very far away. It's other people's problems, but it's a lot closer. The numbers are rising. We're seeing very complicated cases presenting, and it's very important that we open up our eyes, open up our ears, and be more supportive as Ghanaians.
Okay. I will ask Doc a question, but there's a message here. It says, ask what the contributing factors to these childhood cancers are. And according to this person, believing that mistakes pregnant women make that lead to this. Do we have anything of that? So that's coming from Ajman Joseph, by the way.
Okay, so some of the contributory factors to these child cancers, if they are exposed to certain infections, so like the Epstein-Barr viruses, HIV, and hepatitis, they may be predisposed to cancers.
Okay.
So you'd advise that when you give birth to your child in a certified facility. Make sure your child has gotten all their immunizations. Make sure you take your child for their follow-up checkups. And even for pregnant women, once you know that you're pregnant, start antenatal immediately. Once you've confirmed you're pregnant, you've done your initial scan, start going for antenatal, take your prenatal vitamins, listen to the advice of your midwives and health caregivers. Don't do anything contrary to what the health caregivers have advised you. We don't advise herbal medication at all, because we realize that it causes more harm than good. So would say follow the instructions that your health caregivers give you from the time of confirmation of pregnancy even to childbirth and beyond. And if you notice anything off about yourself, about your child, bring the child to the hospital. Avoid self-medicating. Make sure that you're eating a healthy diet, your fruits, your vegetables, you're exercising, you're hydrating. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're just joining us, this is Strong and Sassy on Joy 99.7 FM. If you want to ask any questions, we've got Dr. Darko here as well. We've got Akua Sarpong here. They can answer a few of your questions. 055 11 11 997. Now, Doc, I'm staying a bit on you, and then I'll come to Akua. So, how does the cancer treatment affect a child emotionally and physically? And what support systems are we looking at, to ensure that the child comes back up, being normal, join the family and school and everything?
So like Akua said, chemo is hard. And we have to hit hard because cancer is a stubborn disease. So we have to hit harder. Okay. Funny enough, a lot of the children, when you explain things to them in simple terms, they get the concepts.
Okay.
Sometimes they even get it better than their parents. But when they think about the fact that they'll be taken away from their friends, from school, from community, because once you are on the treatment, you can't go to school. Your immune system is down. We are afraid that even someone coughing on you can start a chain reaction that would send us back to the hospital. back on the antibiotics, back on making sure that your immune system is up. So we tell them you can't allow even external family members coming. It's just your immediate family.
Okay.
You can't let them go to school. You can't let them go to the playground and all that, because interaction with other children may predispose them to infections and their immune system is already weak. In this case, it's hard for the children because sometimes they miss their siblings, they miss their aunts, their uncles. Sometimes they miss their parents because one parent has to stay at home taking care of the other children, has to continue working so that they can get the finances to take care of this child. Now the child says, I miss daddy. But daddy has to work because he needs to get money for you. Daddy has to take care of the other children at home. Or sometimes it's rather daddy on the ward. Mommy is at home. I want mommy. Mommy can't come. It's very traumatizing for them. And sometimes it breaks families apart. We've had situations where husbands have left their wives and gone in for other wives because it's like, oh yeah, Chewo hospital. Like I thought it was going to be like a 9-day wonder or 2 weeks something and coming back.
Seriously?
And yes. And it's like, that's it. Like I can't deal. We've had families losing their houses because like the landlord is saying, I need my money. I'm in the hospital. I'm not working to make money to pay you. Okay, if that's the case, pack out. Now then there's the rumors. Oh, I must say, like, nebano or was some disease be. Then it's like, now the other tenants become very agitated, like they have to leave. So even though you've paid your rent, landlord says, see, you are preventing my other tenants from feeling comfortable. You have to go. It's not easy. Yes, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Whew. Okay, let me come to you and find out. What would you say to a parent who perhaps is walking in this journey that you've walked? They're probably scared, they're overwhelmed, and they're feeling unsure. What would you share with them? I know.
It's you have to tell the truth, but it's never a pleasant truth. But the good thing is, you know, oncologists have they're really amazing human beings, and you know, when you first present, they take a lot of history, a lot of details, you know, from before your child was born, you know, the other siblings, and after the diagnosis has been made, they counsel you, and the counseling is solid enough, and you pray that it's enough. It's never enough. So it's an ongoing, you know, conversation we have. Thankfully, our clinicians are not just, you know, doing injections, and they're humans and they understand it. So it's not just the psychologists, it's the nurses and the doctors, and everybody holds the family's hand to ensure that they understand it, they feel safe. And it's also very important to, you know, give them a safe space.
Right.
So they will stay. Thank God there's always a great community, because every time a new patient presents, there's so many other parents. So we have, you know, they have the round circles, they talk to each other, they share their stories, they support each other. And I mean, I'm a parent, so I have great relationship with them. Unfortunately, my story is not the nicest story, but I'm here.
But you're here.
And I'm doing it. So we establish great bonds between the moms to let them know that the journey is tough, but we're there. But they will get through it.
They'll get through it.
And they do get through it.
They do get through it. Okay. Now, Doc, final last but one, because I have seen a shirt that you're wearing. I'll be asking about that. But what are some? I know we've talked about the misconceptions, but I'd want you to hint on them some more. The common misconceptions about childhood cancers that you like to correct on this platform.
So one, people say cancer is communicable, like we've established. It is non-communicable. You can't spread it from one person to the other. Two, people will say, oh, once you have cancer, dear, you are come to die. It's like they've concluded on your matter. They are the judge, jury, executioner. That is not the truth. Over 80% of cancers, childhood cancers, are curable if detected early.
Okay.
And they come for treatment and we start treatment early. The prognosis is good. Some people will say it's as a result of witchcraft or obiabo or something. That is not true. Cancer is not inherited by witchcraft. So people should disabuse their minds of it. Some people will say that once you have it and it goes, it can come back again. Yes, we have a few cases where we treat the cancer completely and then the child unfortunately relapses. But a major number of our cases that we see, once we get a hold of it early, we start treatment and they are fine. Prognosis is good. They go into remission and they live long, healthy lives. Some people will say once you get cancer, you're going to die at a young, tender age. There are people who have gotten cancer as children, have recovered, have grown to live long, healthy life, have lived to over 60, 70, and they are still going strong. It doesn't mean that your life will end early. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Final one to you, Ikea. Well, final, last but one, because I have another question to ask you as well. If your child could see what you're doing today, carrying her story, raising awareness, what do you think she'll say to you?
I think she'll be proud.
She'll be proud.
She'll be proud.
Yeah.
She's the reason why we started this, and we've seen such amazing success after. I mean, the children we have impacted, the families we have worked with, and she'll be so proud. Yeah.
I think she will be proud too. Now, you were nominated and you won, the Impact Awards. How did it make you feel? Because you've been doing this for a while now, for two years, you said?
7.
7.
Yes.
That's a lot of years. How did that make you feel? Because I saw a video of you, receiving the award, but I want us to relive that moment on the radio. Let's relive that moment on the radio. Let's talk about the feeling.
Well, I was blabbing, that's for sure.
Yeah, well.
I was blabbing. I was blabbing. So, threw me off. I didn't know I was supposed to speak, and I had to speak. So, yeah, that wasn't my
finest moments.
It certainly wasn't my finest moments, but I am certainly very grateful that for Joy News and for what you do. We never set off to do this for any awards or any accolades. For us, it's about ensuring that every child in Ghana, every child with cancer has access to early diagnosis and treatments, that every child has a chance to live. I think it's very wrong that a child has to die simply because they couldn't afford it. It should never be something we have to deal with.
Right.
And so, we've been carrying on, but we're so grateful to Joy News that they've seen our work and, it's been recognized. It's certainly been a very busy few days for me.
Yeah. You have to do the media rounds.
I've been doing the media. I've been here in 2 days. I was here yesterday. I'm here today.
Yes.
Getting people calling and congratulating me and my team. I have a fantastic team. It's been an interesting last few days, and but I think it's also. We're here. We're talking more about childhood cancer, and that's what I keep saying. That to the extent that this would open up the conversation about childhood cancer for people to know more and to learn more and to see things and present early and to, support the fundraising drives that we do, so many more children will have better outcomes. Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you so much for being in the studio. But so don't worry, I'll come back to you for that last one. So I see September Childhood Cancer Month on your shirt.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit more about that? We've got less than 3 minutes to go.
Yes. So September of every year
Okay.
has been earmarked as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So we use the whole month to create awareness and to get the community, to get families, to get corporate entities involved in fighting against this menace. During that period, we do a lot of outreaches, we do a lot of talks, a lot of media education. We go into the markets. I think last year we went to Kaneshi Market, we went to the communities to go and create awareness. And after that, we had people coming to the hospital in droves because initially they didn't know that what their child had might be cancer. But through this, they were made aware of the fact that, oh, this is not just a boil. This is not just a swollen eye. This is not just like a swollen knee. This is something more than that. And then they came. But we are wishing and we are hoping that we won't only be limited to September, but beyond. We need a year all-round conversation. We need to have conversations year-round about childhood cancers to create more awareness, to reach even to the remotest parts of Ghana so that every child can be saved.
Okay.
One treatment at a time.
All right. Okay. Now, okay. Finally, before we go though, how can anyone donate to LCCG, and then if you add your final words as well.
Okay. So before the donation, let me just slot this in. So one of our biggest challenges is space. In Kolebu.
Okay.
Space to treat. I mean, currently we only have a 24-bed ward, and we have new cases up to maybe 280 each year coming through Kolebu. We have a daycare, which is really just for day treatment. 12 bed, but now it's now doubling as a ward. So in 2023, we embarked on a very ambitious project to build, a first standalone, dedicated childhood cancer treatment center in Kolebu.
Okay.
It's a 40 bed, but a complete, so it's going to have, diagnostics areas, every consulting rooms, research place, lab, but it can also take up 40 beds at a time. And we've raised money from organizations like Enterprise Limit Ghana. They've been gracious to us. GASEM has given us all our cements need. VPL Concrete have been gracious, give us our pre-mixed concrete. Who else have I missed before I get killed? But we have total project cost is $1.6 million. We have raised $458,000 from just the generosity of partners, and we are roofing it now.
Okay.
But this is a project we can't do alone.
Okay.
So we're asking everybody to get on board.
We get on board in 2 seconds.
In 2 seconds,
Yes.
reach out to us, info at Lifeline for Childhood Cancer Ghana, and you can always find us. Reach out to us. We'll get back to you. Go to our website, www.lifelineforchildhoodcancerghana. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akua Sarpong. She oversees Lifeline for Childhood Cancer Ghana, LCCG, and also she's also the Joy News Impact Awards winner on health. And also thank you going out to Dr. Yaa Offei Darko, who's a medical officer, pediatric oncology at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, for coming in studio today. And that's it for Strong and Sassy today. My name is Akua Sarpong for Enimwe Nimado. Thanks going out to the production team, Mirabel Johnson, Anita Tay, and Oliver made us visible on social media. James has the news.